Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling lake, lived a mighty king. He ruled his people with an iron fist and was known throughout the land for his great wealth and even greater pride. The king's one true love was himself. He would spend hours gazing at his reflection in the golden mirror, admiring his handsome face and regal bearing. "There is no man more handsome, more powerful, or more intelligent than I," he would say to himself, preening like a peacock. One day, as the king was taking his usual narcissistic delight in his own image, a tiny voice broke the silence. "Your Majesty, there is a man in the kingdom who is far more handsome than you." Startled, the king whipped around to see who had dared interrupt him. But it was only a small mouse that had scurried out from its hole. Amused by the mouse's audacious claim, the king decided to play a little game. "Oh, really? And where can I find this man who is more handsome than I?" he asked with a smirk. The mouse, unfazed by the king's towering presence, simply replied, "He lives at the edge of the kingdom beyond the Whispering Falls." Intrigued and also eager to prove the mouse wrong, the king set off on his royal stallion, determined to find the mysterious handsomer man. As he rode, the king couldn't help but admire his own dashing appearance. "Who could possibly be handsomer than me?" he wondered. But the thought of being outsmarted by a tiny mouse irked him. "I'll show that rodent who's boss," he muttered. When he finally reached the edge of the kingdom, the king dismounted and tied his horse to a nearby tree. Then, with the mouse perched on his shoulder, he walked into the forest. They walked for a long time in eerie silence, the only sound the crunching of leaves beneath their feet. Finally, the king heard a rushing of water and parted the trees to find a beautiful waterfall cascading down a rock face. "This must be the place," he said, feeling a sense of triumph. But just as he stepped into the clearing, the ground gave way and he fell into a deep pit. The king tumbled through the air, flailing wildly until he landed with a thud on the ground below. Dazed and disoriented, he looked around to find that he was in a dark and dank dungeon. To his horror, the mouse had disappeared, and in its place was a tiny golden crown lying on a stone pedestal. As he brushed the dirt off the crown, the words "Beware the curse of vanity" appeared as if by magic. Suddenly, the dungeon began to fill with water, rising rapidly to trap the king inside. In a panic, the king realized the folly of his ways. "Oh, great king," he cried mockingly. "What use is your power now, or your wealth, or your vaunted handsomeness?" Desperate to escape, he pushed against the rising water, but it was no use. Soon the water reached his chin, then his nose, and then his mouth. As the last of the air bubbled out of his lungs, the king cried out, "I am but a humble servant of my people. Please have mercy on me." Just then, the water receded, leaving the king gasping on the damp ground. He looked up to see a beautiful woman with flowing hair and kind eyes smiling down at him. "You are cursed, O king, to live forever as a humble frog," she said, "until someone loves you for who you truly are, not for your looks or status." And with that, the woman vanished, leaving the king trapped in his new amphibious form. The once proud king spent centuries hopping around the kingdom, watching the seasons change and the years go by. People would point and laugh at the strange frog, and even the animals mocked him for his vanity. But after many years, a young girl named Lily came across the frog. Unlike the others, she didn't laugh or scorn him, but simply asked, "Would you like to be my pet frog, little king?" The frog, overjoyed at the prospect of finally breaking his curse, quickly agreed. And so Lily took the frog home and treated him with kindness and respect, feeding him delicious meals and making him a comfortable bed out of velvet. One day, as Lily was feeding the frog, she noticed a tiny golden crown lying in the grass outside. She picked it up and placed it on the frog's head. And in that instant, the frog was transformed back into the handsome king. Overjoyed, the king threw his arms around Lily and thanked her for breaking his curse. But when he turned to leave, he saw that she wasn't just a simple peasant girl, but a beautiful princess. The two were wed in a grand ceremony, and the king, now known as the humblest monarch in the land, ruled with wisdom and compassion, never forgetting the valuable lesson he had learned from a tiny mouse.